Wairarapa Policy Working Group, Wairarapa Local Alcohol Policy Hearings meeting this morning, 9 a.m. on Wednesday, the 23rd of October. I would like just to open with a karakia. If everyone would like to join in, we do have it on the wall to our left, a karakia timatanga. Mai te pairona, raro ki te tae, mai te awatona, raro ki te awaraki, tēnei te hapori, awhia e taratari, whanau, haere mai te toki, haumi e, hui e, tai ki e. Thank you. So this morning we are joined and we're here to listen to submissions on the Wairarapa local alcohol policy. Once the hearings conclude this morning, the meeting will close. The meeting is being recorded, so it will be available on all three councils' websites. So we'll just get the panel to introduce themselves. I'm Robin Cherry Campbell, Chair of the Working Group and Councillor at Carlton District Council.
Craig Bowyer, Councillor, Marsden District Council.
Steve Cretney, Deputy Mayor, Carlton District Council.
Joining us online. You're on mute, Martin.
Sorry, Robin, I just got a message from Melissa saying she's having technical difficulties and she'll be on as soon as she can. Oh, she'll have thrown her laptop out the window. Martin Bosley, Councillor for South Wairarapa.
You?
Kia ora, it's Tim Nelson from the Marsden District Council.
Thank you. And Melissa will be joining us shortly. Fingers crossed. So the hearings information provided to submitters is in the agenda on page 156. Each submitter has 10 minutes and the submitters are asked to speak in support of their submission. So it's on what they've submitted on and nothing new to the submissions. And just a reminder for the elected members, if you can keep your video on, please, Tim, that would be awesome. That we need to approach the hearings with an open mind and we need to take into account all of the written and oral submissions when it comes to our deliberations next month. That we actually need to just listen to the submissions and allow the submitters to speak, and then we'll have times to ask questions to clarify any particular points on their submissions. The hearings aren't an opportunity for us to comment on submissions or engage in debate with the submitters or offer solutions or indicate any support otherwise of their submissions. Just a reminder that we are here to listen and to ask questions for clarification. Apologies. So if we could record Melissa maybe as an apology for lateness, actually not. So I'm happy to move that we accept her apology for lateness. Can I have a seconder? Thank you.
Yeah,
Yep. All those in favour?
Aye.
Again?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. Just checking, we call on members to declare any conflicts of interest that they have in relation to today's agenda. Are there any conflicts of interest from anyone? Thank you. So there's no conflicts. So our reports for decision, the item on the agenda is the hearings report, which we have all read. We have 4 submitters wishing to be heard, and we've all got a copy of the hearing schedule in front of us, either on our laptops or on paper. And now I'd like to hand over to Marsden District Council Policy Advisor, Sophie Bradley, to present the report. Sophie.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tēnā koutou. This report provides you with the 33 submissions that we received on the kaupapa here Waipiro Arohe o Wairarapa, the Wairarapa local alcohol policy. Consultation on the policy was open from the 20th of September until Sunday, 4 p.m. on the 20th of October. We advertised the opportunity to comment online on social media and in print media. In addition, we emailed key stakeholders such as, but not limited to, mana whenua, licence holders, addiction services, business Wairarapa, schools and kura, and others, as well as our stage 1 stakeholders, which are Te Whatu Ora and the police. We also presented to the Wairarapa Community Network and the Marsden Youth Council. You will hear from 4 submitters today in support of their submissions, 3 online and 1 in person. Following the hearing, deliberations will take place on the 6th of November. In that report, we will provide you with further analysis on the submissions and make any recommended changes for you to consider. Thank you.
Thank you. Martin and Tim, just whilst people are speaking in the room here, do you mind just popping yourselves on mute until we get to the question time? That would be awesome. We just pick up, because it's being recorded, we're getting a bit of background noise. Thank you. So I would like to welcome Anoop from Health New Zealand Te Whatu Ora to the table. Welcome, Anoop. So you've got 10 minutes, 7 minutes to present, and if you'd like to allow sort of 3 minutes for questions, a bell will ring at about 6 minutes, just so you know where you're up to. So over to you. Thank you.
Okay. Kira, thank you for the opportunity to speak to the submission. My name is Anup Gopalakrishnan. I'm a Senior Health Promotion Advisor with the Tobacco, Alcohol and Drugs team for Health New Zealand. So I would like to, first of all, commend the councils for the joint councils for making this effort to actually change and bring in this positive change to the local alcohol policy, and that will help in managing the alcohol-related harm in the Wairarapa. So the recent amendments to the Act have removed the ability of stakeholders to appeal provisional local alcohol policies. So this means now the councils can take some bold actions to minimize alcohol-related harm. So I'll be speaking on a few, just a few five bullet points, and then we can have a discussion after this. So the reducing the trading hours of licenses from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. So first of all, Health New Zealand would actually like to commend the councils for changing the start time to 9 a.m. and the restrictions in the trading hours was associated with lower consumption of alcohol and also a significant reduction in the hospital admissions for alcohol-related intoxication, especially among young people. So you must have seen in the news that Auckland's LAP been having a closing time of 9 p.m. So for off licenses. So Health New Zealand would recommend having something similar in the Wairarapa region. That's mainly because down the line, we could see some national consistency. So 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. would be ideal, and that will help in minimizing the alcohol-related harm in our community. Second, introducing sinking lid and a cap on the number of off licenses. So based on the key findings from the council's background research, as shown in the statement of proposal, it is evident that the alcohol-related harm does exist in our communities. So the admissions to hospital with alcohol-related harms are a major concern, especially in places like Marston East, Lansdowne, and Featherston. And limiting the number of off licenses to 1 or 2 outlets in the suburbs would be the best possible way in the future. So this means this would actually reduce the access to alcohol stores or off licenses, and people need to take more efforts to go and so it means more increased time and effort that is needed to access these products. So, and also if the number of off licenses are reduced, that means there is no competition, and then that means increased prices that comes up. So, however, Health New Zealand would like to suggest that off licenses from wineries are excluded, and that's mainly because this could actually have an impact on the tourism sector in basically Wairarapa's tourism. Third, no new off licenses are granted for premises within 100 meters of a sensitive site. So Health New Zealand would like to recommend that this distance be increased to 300 meters. And that's mainly because alcohol is, as you know, is considered a harmful commodity. And it is similar to tobacco and nicotine products. So when you thus increasing the proximity limits the off licenses, outlets would reflect the current vaping regulations, where, like for example, if you see a specialist vape retailer, they are not allowed to open 300 meters from a school or a marae. So if this kind of consistency can be achieved even for alcohol products, that would be an advantage. Fourth, reduction in the trading hours of on licenses from 8 a.m. to midnight. So the current hours of 8 a.m. to 1 a.m. is reasonable, but the statement of proposal also highlights that that only a small number of on licenses in the Wairarapa are open until 1 a.m. So even if the councils decide to bring back the time to midnight, it's going to affect only a small number of on licenses. And so the reduction of hours from 8 a.m. to midnight would also help in reducing the alcohol-related harm in our region. And also this in turn would affect, this could also help in improving the hospital-related admissions that can be avoided and the ED presentations. Fifth, introducing a single sale condition for off licenses. So this is something new that we are trying to introduce, especially in the Wellington region. So it would be good if we can have something like this in the Wairarapa. So when it comes to single sales, these alcohol containers, which could be 500 mils or less, which includes beer, ready to drink products and spirits. If these containers could be sold only in packs of 4, or if we can avoid the sale of single cans, that would be helpful because it can provide for, because these products can actually be taken up, could be quite popular among people of deprived communities and also people from low socioeconomic conditions. So and also it promotes side loading and preloading. So these single alcoholic beverages enable immediate consumption, which means all the public places like parks could be, and these are places where it could be readily consumed. And so, and this can also lead to a breach in the local alcohol bans. So recently in Wellington, we had signed the condition which I mentioned in the submission. So this was taken by the medical officer of health, the police, and the Wellington City Council, the chief licensing inspector, and we have a memorandum of understanding the state. So if we can have something similar in the Wairarapa, that would be awesome. Kia ora. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you for taking the time to come and speak to us as well today. Melissa, are you there? Can you hear us? Possibly not. Oh, yeah. Hi, welcome.
Hi, Robin. Yes, I'm here and I can hear you. Just having a few technical difficulties, but I can hear you. And
great to have you join us. As I've said to the other two, if you don't mind keeping your video on just whilst we're, because we're recording this as well. And if you can, you were on mute, but mute whilst people are speaking, and then just use the hands up signal if you have questions for our submitters. That's awesome. So open to questions.
Sure thing. One of my technical difficulties is that the camera is showing us on at my end, but apparently is not showing on at your end. So I'll work away in the background to try and.
We can see you now. Sorry. So whatever you've done now, we can see.
Okay, perfect.
We can see you. Yep.
Perfect.
Awesome. So.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you.
Thanks. I have a question from Craig first.
And thank you for your presentation. Now, I know you mentioned Health New Zealand would recommend a cap and a single lid on the number of off licenses, but your wineries are not included. Can you just explain a bit more fully as to why you believe wineries should be exempt from a sinking cap?
That's mainly because of its impact that tourism can have, because most of the wineries, like in the Wairarapa, especially Martinborough, Featherston, they rely heavily on wine tastings and even those. I think a lot of wine-related and alcohol-related tourism is there. So, like but again, those are not like cheaply priced. They are priced at a higher level. So, which means you don't necessarily see all those intoxication, but yeah, ideally, if we can get all the off licenses included, that's ideal. But then just considering that we don't want to impact tourism, which is a major source of economy for this region. So that's the only reason why we thought of excluding wineries from this place.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
No.
Any questions from any of our members online? Tim?
Thank you. Just thanks, Anish, for your presentation. Just in regards to the last comment, do you think there's a risk of perhaps a feeling of elitism if we have no restrictions on vineyards, but we do have them on other areas? It's just something I've thought of then when you made that comment.
It's just a thought from our side, but then at the end of the day, as I mentioned earlier, the councils have got the power to make those bold decisions. And it is just because we see things only from a health perspective, but then we don't want to necessarily impact other industries. So that's the only reason why we thought of this exclusion. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have one quick question. I know our 10 minutes is up.
Yeah.
In relation to the increasing proximity for sites from 100 to 300 metres.
Yeah.
So it becomes consistent with the vape and nicotine sales.
Yes.
Am I correct in understanding that that is only in relation to specialised vape or nicotine outlets?
Yes, that's for specialist vape retailers.
But it doesn't apply to other outlets that may sell that?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no other questions, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah.
And we will be in touch in due course.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have Mr. Radich on the
Fabulous.
ready to go.
Hey, good morning, Mr. Radich. Do we have you online?
Good morning. Yes, I'm here.
Good morning. Are you able to put your video on so we can see you?
Yes, there we go. Should be working now.
Oh, fabulous. Thank you for joining us this morning and thank you for your submission. Just a quick sort of update. You have 10 minutes to speak to your submission. If you could sort of keep to the points that were raised in the submission. A bell will go at 6 minutes, letting you know sort of how far down you are. And if you'd like to leave time for question at the end, so maybe speak for 7 and allow sort of 3 minutes or so for us to ask questions. So over to you.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to come and chat to you today about the local alcohol policy. I'm hoping I won't take 7 minutes because our submission is relatively simple. It was interesting listening to the submission from Health New Zealand, and our submission is completely the contrary to Health New Zealand's, and that is that the provisions for discretionary conditions in the LAP, in our view, need to be deleted. And there are some very, very simple reasons for that. Discretionary conditions are required under the case law from the High Court that they are to be evidence-based rather than suggestions, as we've just heard, and that evidence base is of a very high standard. What we're finding within councils who have discretionary conditions in their local alcohol policies is that licensing inspectors, health officials, police are applying the full suite of conditions and relying on licensees such as ourselves to invest in going to a hearing to have those conditions removed from their licenses. And I would submit that that's the wrong way around. The correct way to do this is that the reporting agencies have the evidence to support the conditions that are imposed, and that once the evidence for those conditions to be imposed is submitted, a licensee can review that and then decide whether they wish to agree to discretionary conditions or not. It shouldn't be done under the veil of having to spend tens of thousands of dollars going to a hearing to have conditions or discretionary conditions either not imposed on your license or equally removed from your license, as we are finding in many councils around the country. That is basically the only reason why we wanted to talk this morning. We accept everything else that is in the local alcohol policy. We are very concerned about the addition of discretionary conditions, and in particular, a list of discretionary conditions. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Can I just ask one of our staff, can you pull that blind down over there, because I can't see on the screen. Sorry, I'm just thinking for the recording, it won't show up very well. Thank you. Thank you very much, Paul, and thank you for the submission and making time to speak to that today. Do I have any questions from any of our members?
Good question.
Great.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Paul. Probably just following in point 17, you talk about these discretionary conditions, and that there is, you believe it's increasingly common to see those across the country. Do you believe there's any evidence of that currently happening within the Wairarapa, or is this something you're concerned may happen?
No, certainly from what I heard from Health New Zealand just as I joined the call, a classic example of that is this ideology that single can sales that are under 400 mils or 500 mils should be banned. And I was deeply concerned to hear that in Wellington, as the example that was provided, that there is a level of agreement between the licensing inspector, the police and the medical officer of health that they will effectively remove these products from shelves. Excuse me. A, they are 100% legal, and B, in order to do that, there is evidence of harm required, and it appears, certainly my experience with the Wellington district and Auckland district for that moment, is councils, reporting agencies, not councils or DLCs, are simply deciding that products and things should be imposed and using discretionary conditions to do that, and relying on the cost of a DLC hearing in order to simply get licensees to agree. And there are countless examples of that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Paul. Any questions from anyone else on the panel? Steve?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Paul, thanks for your submission. I struggle with your questioning the level of evidence. How do you choose when you've reached a level of evidence which has sufficed to support the change in something? Because when you're talking alcohol harm, I think any evidence is relevant. So what are you suggesting is a decent amount of evidence to support the changing of or these discretionary use of these discretionary rulings?
Well, so the High Court many years ago ruled that the test is three-pronged. One, is it desirable? If the answer to that is yes, you move to the second limit of the test, which is it reasonable? And then if the answer to that is yes, then you move to the third limit of the test, which is it necessary? And if all three of those tests are met, then the discretionary condition can be imposed. But it doesn't require a list of discretionary conditions in your LAP. Councils, licensing inspectors, police, Ministry of Health can all request discretionary conditions as part of that process anyway. What is happening now with lists of conditions and LAPs is they are simply going through and listing an entire, and I've just received one from Auckland today, which is 2.5 pages long, which tells me where I can put my CCTV camera. I have to have an incident book. I have to record things in an incident book within 12 hours. I have to do this. I have to do that. I have to do the other thing. And there is absolutely no evidence to support those things. So where there is an evidential basis and where those 3 tests are met, absolutely. But that will be on a case-by-case basis. It can't be across the region to say here are the conditions that will be imposed on licensees as a matter of course, because they are no longer discretionary conditions. They are mandatory conditions, and only the Act prescribes mandatory conditions.
Thank you.
Answer your question, Steve?
Yeah, that's
Any more questions from any of the panel? No. Paul, thank you very much for your time today and for your fulsome submission.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Our next submitters that we have are also online. It's from Alcohol Health Watch. And Andrew and Jennifer joining us. Morena.
Kia ora koutou.
So as you will have heard, 10 minutes, a bell will go at 6 if you allow some time for any questions from the panel. Over to you.
Well, kia ora koutou, and thank you for having us with you this morning, members of the committee. Ko Andrew Galloway, tōku ingoa. My name is Andrew Galloway. I'm the Executive Director of Alcohol Health Watch, and my colleague Jennifer Lamb joins me. We're a national organisation who provide credible, up-to-date evidence and advice regarding alcohol policy and planning matters. We coordinate networks such as the Fetal Alcohol Spectrum, Roku, and the Cross-Council Local Alcohol Policy Network, and other networks and projects that support the sector and communities in the reduction of alcohol harm. We really want to commend Carterton, Masterton and South Wairarapa District Councils on undertaking a review of your joint local alcohol policy, and we are grateful to be here today making the submission. Our written submission outlined the reasons why a local alcohol policy is a key measure in a package of measures and policies aimed at minimising alcohol-related harm to individuals, whānau and the community. Alcohol places a significant burden on the 3 districts, in fact the whole region and nationally. The latest estimate of 9.1 billion annually is staggering, and we know that what evidence there is likely an underestimate of the total burden of disease that particularly affect vulnerable groups and those at greatest risk. Those include young people, Māori, and those in high socio-economic deprivation areas. Noting that alcohol is Aotearoa New Zealand's most harmful drug, we know that a local alcohol policy can reduce this harm by reducing the density and location of alcohol outlets and setting maximum trading hours that address the accessibility, sale and consumption of alcohol. We heard from the Health New Zealand person and we agree with much of what they said as well. A revised local alcohol policy can and should take into account relevant and recent matters. Importantly, the Sale and Supply of Alcohol Community Participation Amendment Act, the desirability of ensuring greater consistency and synergy with local alcohol policies and proposed policies in the region and across Aotearoa New Zealand. It should reflect the current environment and emerging issues in the districts since 2018. We are really pleased to see that the revised local alcohol policy has logically extended the definition of sensitive sites to include reserves, healthcare facilities, places of worship and marae. You've also broadened educational facility, childcare facility and playgrounds and recreational facilities. We also support the increase in the distance requirement for a new off-licence to 100 metres and consideration of exposure to alcohol sales and marketing and alcohol-related harm. The more inclusive definition of sensitive site and the revised distance requirements align similarly with policies in the majority of local alcohol policies across Aotearoa. We are really pleased to see opening hours for some off-licence premises being reduced by 2 hours from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. We would strongly recommend this reduction in trading hours to all off-licences, including supermarkets and grocery stores. We also recommend that all off-licence premises close earlier than 10 p.m. From our knowledge, and for very good reason, off-licence hours are tending to be reduced to, for example, close no later than 9 p.m. Off-licences sell over 80% of all alcohol in Aotearoa, New Zealand. Alcohol is most often purchased cheaply from off-licence premises. It's easy to access and consumed in situations with little or no control over its consumption, and often with the greatest percentage of sales to hazardous drinkers made after 9 p.m. We support the new provisions relating to special licences, including those policies on family-focused events, driving events, and other discretionary conditions in the LAP, including conditions that reflect the principles of crime prevention through environmental design, for example. We would also recommend the addition of conditions that address issues that are of increasing concern, including single sales of alcohol, remote delivery of alcohol, external advertising of alcohol products, pricing, and identifying buy now, pay later as an inappropriate method of payment for alcohol. Buy now, pay later schemes have the potential to add another layer of harm to existing harms related to alcohol, particularly for young people, heavy and dependent drinkers, especially if combined with remote delivery where ID checks are often lacking and orders left unattended. We note in our written submission, we believe the full review of the joint LAP provides an opportunity to include the full suite of policies, including those set out in section 77(1)(a), B, D, and G. These additional policies could address the location and number of licensed premises and the use of a one-way door policy. They also have the potential to reduce the burden of alcohol-related harm on agencies, public services, and the community generally. Alcohol-related harm increases where alcohol is easily accessible. Where there is a high concentration of outlets in a particular area, i.e. in areas of high deprivation, where trading hours are long, where businesses are conducted in such a way that impulsive alcohol purchases are encouraged, such as buy now, pay later, online sales, and rapid delivery, and ultimately where the price is affordable. Councils have the ability to create local alcohol policies that reflect the views and needs of the community and meet the object of the Act. With this in mind, we hope the Council will take our recommendations into consideration, and we look forward to hopefully seeing them reflected in the revised local alcohol policy. Thank you for the time you've taken to listen to us today. Happy to take any questions from the committee.
Thank you very much. And thank you for your presentation, both your written and your verbal this morning. I have a question for you on point 13 of your submission, and you mention about, while not included in the draft LAP, we recommend councils give further consideration to restricting issuing of new licences or applying sinking leg, etc., particularly in areas where licensed premises have reached saturation levels. I'm just wondering if you could elaborate on an area in the Wairarapa where you believe licensed premises have reached that point?
Good question.
It's more of a potential. I mean, you've got Masterton, but it's more about considering that as an option for potential saturation. And we see that in quite a number of places across New Zealand.
So there isn't any specific area in the Wairarapa that you could point to? Okay, thank you. That was my only question. Do I have questions from Steve?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Thank you for your submission. I just had a question around the packaging, the warning label and so forth. For me, I feel like that's outside our scope. And I'm just wondering, should that be something that central government's actually pushing, the warning labels that you're suggesting?
We would love for central government to pick that up. We were advocates, to give you an example on alcohol and pregnancy warning labelling. Alcohol Health Watch has been around 30 years, and for 25 years we're advocating for alcohol and pregnancy warning labelling. It took 25 years to get applied. The central government rely on the Trans-Tasman Food Safety Australia New Zealand body to look after food labelling and alcohol as a food. And we would love to see more labels on alcohol. So I agree with you. I think it is something we would love to see central government pick up. But in lieu of central government action or the Trans-Tasman body doing that, we are aware of other councils. Hamilton?
So Wairarapa, we did a submission for their local alcohol policy as an example. I think it was last week. They have included this condition. A lot of, as Andrew said, licenses are having that now, and we were in Hamilton a week or so ago. They're putting that on, so it's becoming more common, and we follow, or the country follows what the Supreme Court said in the Auckland Council case to do with discretionary conditions. It's about a precautionary approach.
Yes. Yes. So to answer your question fully, on that particular warning label around remote deliveries, we've got a paper that is soon to be published in the New Zealand Medical Journal, which will outline the findings, which is over 70% of alcohol delivered remotely was delivered and unattended, and some frightening stats around that. So a warning label is not a measure, I don't think, that is without, a warning label would meet the test of a precautionary approach as outlined, as Jennifer said, in the Supreme Court. I will pick up on the point that Progressives made in the submission just prior to ours around discretionary conditions. And the word discretionary is just that. They are conditions that can be applied. We do differ in our interpretation on the High Court case. I think the High Court case that was referred to has been superseded by the more recent Supreme Court decision, which was very empowering to local councils. It gave councils the ability to use the precautionary principle, which is applied in environmental law, which gives councils that ability to make a decision to, in a precautionary way, where there is likely evidence of something being achieved, to apply that. If the precautionary principle didn't exist, you'd never really be able to change a condition or reduce a harm back, because you wouldn't have the evidence of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. I did have one more question from Craig.
It'll be quick. Just in your submission, you talked about buy now, pay later. Can you just expand a bit on how you can see that being enforced or enforced in a local alcohol policy?
Discretionary condition?
It's in the discretionary conditions, and I know I talk about Wairarapa because that's the one I've done we looked at just before this one. They have that in there, and we are seeing that, including in one case in Hamilton we referred to, but in others as a discretionary condition, because there's so many things wrong with it. I think there's whole papers written on it. Why it's
sorry to interrupt. I think the question was actually, how do you see that being applied with our LAP?
So LAPs are including that as more of a statement of an inappropriate method of payment.
And it could be applied as an example of discretionary condition. Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you. It's okay, no problems at all. Do I have any questions from any of nobody online? Anything else? Thank you both so much for your time today and for putting your submission in. And at the conclusion of today, we will be having deliberations early next month.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we have our fourth submitter. I know we're running a little bit early, but I see that Gabrielle is online. Gabrielle, are you?
I'm here, yes, and yes, I'm ready to go. I'm going to be very, very quick. So
fantastic. Can I ask if you could pop your video on, Gabrielle? It's just we are recording this so we can watch later, so we can see you. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us and putting your submission in. You have a total of 10 minutes. So a bell will go at 6 minutes if you'd like to allow some time for questioning, and we have read your submission. So over to you.
Fabulous. Thank you. So firstly, just thank you for the opportunity for making a submission. I think, as I said in there, so my personal journey, I've been sober for over 2 years. So it's been a particularly sort of strong passion of mine, watching how alcohol is, well, the availability, I guess, in our local area. I also work with the Salvation Army in fundraising, so we see, we see the really kind of pithy end of alcohol harm. So I just wanted to quickly address, expand on the points that I wanted to. So now, so forgive me for not being as prepared as I would have liked to. I'm dealing with a concussion at the moment, so the fact that I'm here and upright is good. So I just wanted to ask a question. The reduction in licensed premises hours, as opposed to dairies, corner stores, and supermarkets. I mean, I would like the council to consider making that those hours across the board. I lived in England for a period of time, and the alcohol hours were shut off when pubs were shut, etc. Because I mean, my concern is just the alcohol buying habits will just shift, and it's so easy to be able to walk in and buy alcohol from a supermarket. So it's kind of seems strange to me that the hours would be reduced for licensed premises, where it's it's easier to go into a supermarket or a corner store and purchase. So that's that one. The question Q13, I think there should not be any alcohol at all in children's events and anything for under 18s. I think the main reason for that is role modelling. The amount of alcohol harm that children and young people particularly are seeing in the homes, seeing with their peers. It's just a fantastic opportunity to know that that's an absolutely safe space, and for people in the public arena who are going through their own struggles, being able to go to a really safe, alcohol-free family event, I think is just fantastic. And we know the effects on alcohol for kids 14 up, and again, it's just role modelling that fun can be had without alcohol. The same for driving events. It always amuses me in a very cynical way that alcohol is used often in publicising events or sponsored by driving events. And again, I think in terms of role modelling to everybody. Our young drivers, our school learners, there just should be no alcohol at those events. There are plenty of other sponsors that could step forward if that's the issue, and there's also there's time after events. The biggest one for me, and this is where I put these comments in number 15, is having non-alcohol products really clearly marked, and I'm probably talking more about alcohol removed products. Obviously you can go into the soft drink aisles, and that's fine, but people like myself, we rely more and more on alcohol removed substances, and the wines, beers, etc. And something I've noticed over the 4 years that I've been in Masterton, the 2 years that I've been buying these products, is the consistency of availability. It's just not consistent at all, and they're often kind of mixed up, or they're put in different places. And a friend of mine had an awful relapse because her husband went to get some, purchase a bottle of wine, alcohol removed wine, and it was in a lighter alcohol sitting on the shelves, and he brought that back, and it was almost like a permission, if you like, to drink. And when I go shopping with my children, who are teenagers now, I want to know that if they want to go in, they want to purchase something that's a bit more adult-like when they are of drinking age, that they can see clearly, it's marked, and it's not something that's kind of hidden away. So yeah, that was it really. Yeah, very short.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Gabrielle. Thank you for your passion and sharing your personal journey with us as well. Do I have any questions from any of the members?
I'll ask.
Yeah.
Gabriel, thank you very much for sharing with us that you talked about, you just brought up those examples of alcohol-free products. Are you talking more specific, and you talk about all licensed premises in your submission? Are you talking primarily there around supermarkets, or are you talking about outlets that sell food as well? I'm talking about cafes or
Look, everything. I mean, and actually, yes, thank you for bringing that up, because when I reread the questions, it seemed to kind of exclude premises that sell alcohol. That's even to me more important. You might be able to get the odd alcohol-free lager. But I think for people who are, particularly people who've chosen sobriety for health reasons or addiction reasons, being able to purchase something that is aligned, I guess, is important. But also, again, it's role modeling to families and other people that, look, you can purchase a lovely adult drink that's not sugar laden Coke or lemonade or whatever. And it's almost impossible to find an alcohol removed wine in most places, and it's certainly available. There's plenty online. So yeah, it's probably even more important, I think, that there is clear availability of options, not just soft drinks. I think it's a psychological thing, and I think if we're going to shift our feelings about the need for alcohol to accompany a meal or an event in a pub or something like that, then normalizing adult beverages that don't contain alcohol would be fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just have one question for you, Gabrielle, as well. So just to clarify that you're in support of tightening the sales times and restrictions. So
yes.
We've recommended a 9 a.m. till 10 p.m. for off licenses, excluding supermarkets.
Yeah.
So your suggestion or preference would be to also include supermarkets. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I think it's easier to walk into a supermarket and purchase alcohol. You hide it among your other provisions. You get rid of the receipt, and no one's the wiser. So I think if you're going to restrict the opening times for off licenses, I think it has to be across the board. And I think, as I said, I was in London for a good many years when there were reduced hours, and they would actually just pull covers down over the alcohol aisles. But habits will just change, won't they? People will just start going into supermarkets earlier. And my worry there too is, I've been in supermarkets, and my daughter was working in one where you would have people, with real addiction problems, who were coming in still inebriated at that hour of the morning, when nobody is ready to be able to look after those people properly.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time this morning. There are no questions from anyone online? No? Thank you so much. We really appreciate you making the time to put a submission in and speaking to it.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. So that brings us to the end of our hearing for our 4 submitters today. So if we move to the recommendation that was in the officer's report, and we have a recommendation that the Wairarapa Policy Working Group, number 1, receives the full set of submissions on the alcohol policy and attachment 1. 1A notes that 33 submissions were received, and B notes 4 submitters are confirmed to be heard in accordance with the hearing schedule and procedure attachment 2. Do I have somebody to move the motion in the officer's report?
I'll move it.
Thank you, Craig. And anyone to second that? Thank you, Steve. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone against? Nobody against. Thank you. That is carried unanimously. And that brings us to the end. So our hearings have concluded and we will meet again on the 9th November to begin deliberations on the policy. And I'd just like to, if we close our meeting with our karakia whakamutonga, which is on the wall, if we can, everyone can read it. It's the lightest we have to sing. Kia whakaarea te tapu, kia wātia ai te ara.
Kia taruki
Whakataha ai.
Kia taruki whakataha ai.
Hune hui ai. Thank you all for your time this morning and we will see you all back on the 6th of November.
Thank
The
you.
meeting is closed.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.